we're going to learn what are the Drupal logs or the DB logs, where do we find them, what type of logs do we have, how to log, and an example of a log from a module hook. So here we have a Drupal instance installed, and to access the logs we usually would go under reports and then recent log messages. So here we usually have all the logs listed, and we have different types of logs. So we have different severity of the logs, like emergency, alert, critical, error, warning, notice, info, and debug. So here under the GitHub page of Drupal, I created a little example of how we may be logging in Drupal 8. So for example, in a .module file, we would use the logger service. We would use it actually even if we're going to be logging from a controller or service, we're going to be using the logger service. So in the logger service, we say the type of the log. So if we're logging from our module, we say the name of our module. And if we're going to be logging an emergency message, like here, emergency, it would be marked then as emergency. We'll make an example of each of them. So let's go under devel and execute PHP. And here I have created example of all of the types of the log messages. So usually we will use emergency if the system is unstable. We'll use alert when an action is needed immediately. We use critical for critical conditions. Error would be typically for errors when the page doesn't load. Warning, occurrences that are not errors. Notice is for events that are important, like the cron execution. Info, just interesting events. And debug for debug information, as we're debugging something in our module. So let's go ahead and copy all of these messages and see how they look like as we execute them. So I will essentially quickly remove these comments. Great, and let's give the message a value. So let's see, our example log. Perfect. And we may directly execute this bit, and we're going to then check what do we have under reports and recent log messages. As we see here, we have an example of each of the possible log messages. If we click here, our example log, we see that the severity here is debug. For the second one, it is info, and so on and so forth. And as you see, some of them are marked as errors. So like the error, of course, is marked as error, and that should be checked for sure. And the others, like critical and alert and emergency, are marked also so that we could see them easily. And here the warning is marked just with exclamation mark. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and implement the logging service in our module. So let's go ahead and jump to the code base of our Drupal instance, and let's create a new folder, custom, and let's create a new folder in custom for our module. We'll call it Drupal up log example. That's perfect. Let's copy it. Let's create the info file, info YAML.
So for game, Drupal logging. Type module core index. That's perfect.
So let's now go ahead and create a new file, and this would be the name of the module.module file, and in it we're essentially going to be declaring the hooks that we're going to be needing in order to trigger our logging service. So here we say file, our hooks here, and we're going to be using the hook entity insert in Drupal 8. Let's just go ahead and copy the bit from here. So simply in our .module file, we're going to say function, and then we say the name of our module. It is Drupal up log example, and we're going to be logging simply a info message that essentially our module Drupal up just logs when we create a new node, let's say. So here, instead of entity, we just say node. A new node is created. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and activate our module, and let's say Drupal up example logging, and we install our module. And if we now go ahead and create a new article, for example, fresh article, and we save it, essentially right now our module logs something, and if we jump to the logs, we see that a new node is created, and that is a log from our own module. So this is how you may use logging in your next project. And of course, if you are going to be logging something from, let's say, a service or controller, of course you'd have to use dependency injection, and check the links below on how to inject a service. This is the service name that you're going to be using as you're injecting it. So that's it. If you like the video, please check the links in the description, subscribe, and please don't forget to click the bell icon if you want to receive notifications for new videos. And thanks for watching.